Hello everyone, it is the new year. I've shaved all my hair off and this video is going to solve a problem I've had with the car since I built it. So yep, this is my first video of the new year. Happy New Year. Bit of a late one to say that really, but in all honesty, I have not even washed this car since the last race of the season last year. That is basically all I've done. Nothing. More really because the car ran really well at the back end of the season. It was absolutely singing. Last race, really good there as well. I might have a bit of play on my diff again, but that is something I will investigate once my horrendous backache that I've got at the moment has subsided a bit, so that'll be another video. However, one of the big problems that I had at the finals was that my rear lights would just intermittently decide whether they wanted to work or not, and I'd touch them and they'd start working again and look like candle lights. So under strict instructions from the scrutineers, I have to sort that before the start of the season. And so after months of not doing anything, I've decided that I need to do something about it. So instead of crawling all the way to the back of the car, because if you do know these cars, they are a pain to get to the rear lights on. But sort of going in there, sort of in each corner that you can't even see, there's essentially Mark II Cortina rear lights. And maybe there's a better connection out there for the lights, but the ones I have are terrible, horrible things. So these, on my lovely tidy workbench, obviously, this is a rear light assembly, so it's a bit easy for you to see here. The points are here, and so they're just a flat surface, and this is what I was using, which is basically like a little push fitting that you basically put your bulb in, ram it into the hole, and then the earth connection runs through the aluminium casting, which is ridiculous. And so even though I've run an earth connection to each side to make it as good as possible because it's a fiberglass car, they're just terrible things. So I could probably have asked everyone out there, what do you do to solve this problem, because they are rubbish. I've probably bought the wrong things. It's just what I bought when I built the car. But instead of doing that, I thought, why not waste hours and hours of my time trying to design something that's probably already been sorted. So this is what this video is about. So what I've done, I went to a company called Classic Car LEDs, because they do nice bright LED lights for old cars. So I thought, well, that's a good start. That might help. And so then they also sent these nice bulbs to go with it. The carriers that they have are these things. So nice, like sealed units. So that would be an indicator because it's only got the one output, and this one is your brake and lights because it's got two. So that's cool. Now they're a lovely fitting with a little rubber end to it, but obviously, well, they don't fit this. So what I'm doing is making an adapter with a 3D printer. I know, modern technology. 3D printer, so I'm going to 3D print a part that is actually going to fit into there with a nice wide flange on there to essentially seal against there. And then these, using their little twist locks, is going to just simply pop in and twist into position, and I'm going to have working lights. I know I am. So I will take you upstairs and I will go through the actual 3D design side that I've done on the computer to accommodate one of these and show you how it's printed, and then we'll hopefully get it all in the car and it's working. So let's go design. Okay, so here we are in the office room where I try and cut all the videos into something that makes sense. But today you are also going to see some of the design stuff that I do in the background, more for other stuff, but this time it is actually car related. So I'm actually going to show you my screen so you can see what I'm actually up to. So if we have a look at this, I will start this capture up for you. So this is a free program that you can get. It's called Blender, and it's a 3D design package essentially. So you can design anything. What I design is very, very basic because I am only a amateur on this. However, if you look at the screen that I've got up here, you can see there's various different designs that I've done. So some of the things that I've had to do, thank you to my spare one that I have here, is the mating surface for there, and then it adapts over to the new twist lock mechanism that I've got for these lights. And so you'll see I've gone through a few different ideas and ended up with this one here. So as you see, it's essentially started out as a cylinder. So started out as a cylinder, developed the inline grooves, so the little groove going around there for it to actually slot into. These square blocks are to cut out the outer chunks that these will need to slot into. And then that adapted to the finished article, which then underneath you've got a little cutout around here, and those essentially are the cutouts in the light itself, and so it will slot in, because I don't know if you'll see there, there's tiny little cutouts that will then slot into there. So now we've got this as a 3D file essentially. You save that into what they call an STL file, which is basically just a 3D model. Now I can move it over to the 3D printer software to start setting up how that is actually going to print out. So I actually use a 3D printer software called Flash Print. So here is Flash Print. And what you see, I've got an Adventure 3 series printer. This cube that you've got is essentially my print bed. And so that's what I'll be able to use, and the maximum sizes that I can actually print. And then all I need to do is load the file that I want to use, which is light holder part V2. And there it is. So it automatically transposes from that 3D model in Blender. It goes over to this that's starting to be ready for printing. So you'll see that actually puts it on the bed. The blue indicates what it's actually going to be. You know, that's the bottom layer essentially. And so you get that. Now, what I did earlier, if I can load the project, this one you'll see has all these little kind of supports essentially. Now what this software does is it looks for any parts of the model that are overhanging, and so you can't print in thin air because it prints up from the base layer by layer. So these supports aim to come up and catch those layers, and that means that it will successfully print, and then these supports are simply snapped off afterwards when it's all done. So with that all set up, you can then go and start to slice it. So slicing is basically where you're telling the printer what each layer is going to be. So you go start slicing. This is just general information on the type of plastic that I'm using to print with, things like that. The raft support, so I'll drop that down a bit so I'm not wasting stuff quite as much. The infill, it's actually done as a hex. I'm going to do a triangle fill. Click slice, and the computer then calculates each layer to tell the printer what it's going to do. So you go to slice preview there, and it changes to quite a funky graphic showing you the different layers. So it's actually going to print 88 layers of plastic to create this object. And if I slowly pull the layers back, you'll see it gives me a bit of a realization on what each layer is going to be. And so that's the base, to make sure it sticks to the base, and then that gets printed up like this. And so that's how it grows through up to the finished article. That's what we hope. So really now what I need to do is essentially, a bit like a piece of paper, click print. Now I know I've got 2 lights, 2 holes in each, so I need 4 of them. And so then what I'll do with this now is I'll duplicate that. So on my bed here, if I close that, I can actually go paste, paste, paste. So I've essentially got now a load of models. So I think with this software, I can't tell it somewhere how to place them, but we'll move that around so they're all just a little bit neater. So do that, for instance. That is probably going to be pretty good for what I need. So because there's 4 of them, I've now actually got to slice it again. So start the slice, triangle infill, a raft of 3mm, click slice again. That's going to calculate it again based on the 4. So it's basically just telling the printer what to do. So we go to preview now, still 88 layers, and it actually gives me a print time of 3 hours and 41 minutes. If it was just the 1, it'd be a quarter of that time. So you can see how that is going to print. So that all looks pretty cool. So then at the top of the screen, I just go up to here to send it to my 3D printer. So click on that, tell it what it is. So light holder 2.5, 4 of, because there's 4 of them, click OK. And what it does now, it sends that over to the printer that's back downstairs near the garage to tell it to start printing. And so in 3 hours and 40 odd minutes, we will see what it's doing. So let's go and see what the printer's up to. So they've all printed successfully, which is great. And here is the finished article. So as you can see, if you can see, it's a printed, you see it's a little bit rough in areas. You can sand that down if you needed to. I'm not bothered. But as you can see, that is basically the interpretation of the 3D file that I made, which has been pretty successful. People out there who do 3D printing properly and design things properly will probably be tutting at me going, God, that's rough. But yes, it is. So this is the setup, and so these slots will now go slot into there. So it's actually, there you go, a nice tight fit. that will only need now. I'm actually going to just use a bit of a silicone sealant to just adhere that in place, and also to stop water from coming down and entering into that area. That slots in, and then these units will essentially, if I get this in a bit more of a convenient way while holding a camera, they slot onto it. Easier said than done with one hand, isn't it? So that goes in there. That will slot down into the actual unit, and on the sides of it, it twists into position. God, it's not easy with a left hand, is it? There. So that slots in there. That now just twists and locks into position, and that is actually then the finished light fitting. The rubber seal again seals it to stop water from getting in there. I'll actually cheat at this, so you'll see there the grooves is actually slotted nicely into it, and so the advantage of that is that it works nicely. So pretty happy with that. So now I just need to bond them onto there, put the light bulbs in, connect the electrics up that are already there, and we should be good to go. So I probably won't do it with the camera in the back there, because I've literally got to crawl through to the back of the car to get to it and just moan and groan for 5 minutes. So I will see you in a couple of minutes. Okay, so the adapters are in now. Stuck them in with like a silicone style adhesive, and it stops water getting through as well, which is cool. So that is all in. I've wired up the connectors just on the Wagos, which are like a quick clipping system, just to test everything out. So if you have a look, I'll squeeze in through here. I've already got my light in here. So that is what you've got now. So that connection is in there. You see the one below, it's a bit hard to see actually. Oh, if I could crawl into this car a bit more. So you will see, if I turn the light a bit more, so you can see there's that lower connection, and that's just setted in there, and then these just twist lock into position. And so essentially I've got some working lights now, which is great. So now, if I can get out of this car, it's a bit tight in there. If I turn my ignition on, then I think the lights should turn on at that. So go around to the back. Look at that, nice and bright, which is excellent. And that is the lower sort of setting, because that's my side lights. So the brake lights should actually be significantly better. So if I try and set this down on here, and can I tilt them up? Hopefully you can see that there. You should be able to. So then brake lights, hopefully. Look at that. Really nice and bright. So there you go, everyone. Job sorted. I'm not going to get in trouble scrutineering anymore. People can actually see my lights, which is always a good thing, isn't it? Brighter, much more secure, sealed, so it's not going to let water in. The earth is earthed directly to the lights. Tick, tick, tick. So we'll see how long they last. So that's it for this episode. Next episode, I'm trying to do a set of shift lights that works off my ignition coil. So stay tuned. All right, cheers.